Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a crazy good morning. I came today hoping that you had a wonderful holiday, hoping that you had a wonderful time with your families. I got 4 or 5 great experiences with some awesome people, with awesome family. I have the greatest family in the world. I know you could probably say the same thing, but I believe God has blessed me with a wonderful family. Now, my in-laws included. I love my in-laws. I love my wife's side of the family. They took me in 7 years ago, and we've never looked back. They know that they're as crazy as I am. They're as crazy as my side of the family is. So I love them to death. And if you're watching this, know that I love you. But I hope you consumed the correct amount of food, not overindulging, especially not underindulging. This is the greatest eating holiday in the world, right? But the correct amount of food, which is something I haven't done in the past, but thank God that we're working on that, right? So I hope you had a wonderful time with your families, though. The time spent with your families and catching up with each other. I hope none of the family arguments popped up. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that didn't happen with your family. I know that sometimes it can, but at this time of the year, let's focus on being thankful, right? But coming out of that, I hope you had a wonderful time. But today, I came to talk about the practicality of the gospel. I don't want to get into some huge, upscale, over people's heads theological debate. That's not what this is about. This is about a Monday morning. Open up your Facebook, you're scrolling through your news feed, and you see, oh hey, there's Brandon again. So let's see what he had to say today. And then you realize when you open it, it's not me talking. It's the Spirit of the Living God. He's talking to you this morning. He's already spoke to me. He's speaking while we're talking right now. So that's what this is about, is the practicality of the gospel. So what does practicality mean? Putting it into practice, right? At the root of it means putting it into practice. So what do you have to do to put the gospel into practice for you? I believe the first step is to live. Just live. Live it out. Walk it out. Well, you say, Brandon, that's hard. Yes, it is hard. That he never claimed it would be easy. He's the most opposite thing to this world that has ever entered this world. And if you claim that's incorrect, then I challenge you to read the New Testament. I challenge you to read 4 books. 4 books. That's it. I just held up 2. That's 8. 4 books. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And tell me that he's exactly like the world. No, he went into the world to destroy what the world has to offer, to provide a greater way, and that way being him. He said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father but by me. Jesus Christ and him only. If anybody tells you any different, that's a perverted gospel. Do not listen to that gospel. It is incorrect. But the first step is to live. Well, Brandon, I've incurred a lot of debt over my life. I've had to file bankruptcy. I've lost my wife. I've lost my kids. I've lost my marriage. I've done some things to screw up my life. I've murdered. I've cheated. I've lied. Look, there are examples for every single thing that was just mentioned, and so many more in the Bible. And yet grace was freely given for all of it. Every single one of us has an opportunity to lift our head today. Lift your head, weary sinner. Because the God of the universe has overtaken it all. He went into the bowels of hell, and hell couldn't hold him. And while he was down there, he looked at Satan and said, hey, give me those keys to death and the grave. He holds it all. Don't be so scared. Lift your head. No matter how bad it hurts today, I challenge you to lift your head, to walk upright. Don't go in with a nasty attitude. Don't go up to your friends and start talking about the worst things of the weekend. Don't focus on the bad stuff. Focus on what God has given you, and that is the opportunity to breathe today. If you're watching this, you're breathing. If you're watching this, you have breath in your lungs. If you're watching this, you have a word to speak. We've talked about that before, whether it be with sign language or not. You have a word to speak. You have a gospel to share. You have a story. You have a story. They can argue with theology. They can argue with doctrine. They can argue with many things. Doesn't mean they're right, but they can argue with that stuff. But what they cannot argue with is your story of redemption. What has God done for you? Not what has He done for you lately. What has He done for you? The obvious. And if there was nothing else, He laid His life down so that you wouldn't have to. Start there. Start there and then work into every situation. Just start thinking on the good things. Stop focusing on the negative. You know, I hear the world talk a lot about negative energy, right? And I'm thinking it may be a different way of saying it, but get the negative energy out. And start focusing on the positive. Stop being so pessimistic and try optimism for once. It's awesome. Look at the good things that God has given you. And stop focusing on everything that is trying to destroy you. Because if you focus on it, it'll permeate through your entire life. But if that is the case, then if you begin to focus on the good gifts that God has given you, that will permeate through your life. And it'll make you smile in the midst of the worst of situations. I believe you can tell that this is something I'm passionate about because I've done it before. I've seen it work. I've seen joy take over mourning. I've seen happiness take over sadness. I've seen one smile bring life. I've seen these things, and I know it can be true for you today. So we are told something very clear in Revelation. John tells us that they overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. That's true for you. That's true for you. Today, you can overcome by the blood of the Lamb. Who's the Lamb? Jesus. The Lamb that was slain before the foundation of the earth. Overcome by the blood of the Lamb. Why? Because He's washed away every single spot, wrinkle, or blemish that's ever been put on you. He's taken it all. He wore it all that day. Crazy to think that He wore every one of mine and every one of yours and every one for every person who has ever or will ever be born. He wore it all in one moment. While He was on the cross, we were truly on His mind. So overcome today by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. Son or daughter of God, you have a story to share. You have a gospel to tell. You have your redemption, and nobody can argue with what God has done in your life. I hope you have an awesome day. a fantastic week, and we'll see you again next week. God bless.